I believe the number one trap that I tend to fall into is thinking that um, enlightenment comes through denying my humanity. And what do I mean by that? Is a lot of times when I get to this point where I'm feeling really not motivated, but like my heart's feeling is more open, and I'm ready to, go back on my spiritual path, even though I'm always on my spiritual path. It turns into like, okay, for me to uh, really be as spiritual as I can or as holy or whatever, I need to be reading my Bible all the time. I need to be, working out, eating healthy. Um, um, you know, making sure I'm doing prayer a lot, making sure that like, I'm going to church, like making sure that I'm taking care of myself and that I'm having good thoughts and I'm not spending time being sinful, whatever it is, right? Even if that means spirituality in the sense of like, oh, I'm gonna go buy the crystals, I'm gonna go buy, like in that time of thing. It's like I'm gonna do all these things because that's what a good, a spiritual person does. But that essentially, I'm denying my humanity because by doing all these things, I'm being performative. Not performative for the sense of others. I'm not being performative for others. I'm being performative to God. I'm being performative to the universe. I'm being performative in the way that's like, enlightenment comes from denying me being a human. And the truth about being human is you know not doing all those things. The truth about being human is not like striving for perfection. It is like the very nature of what a human is an imperfect being, a sinful being. You know what I mean? And by trying not to be that, I'm essentially not being human. And I find myself, in times where I'm really pushing towards these things and I'm doing all the right things, I find myself being further away from God. I find myself not, like being clouded, almost like not being able to feel like I'm not feeling the clarity. I'm not feeling the spiritualness. I'm not feeling grounded when I'm doing all these things because in truth, I'm not doing what my soul desires. I'm doing what my ego thinks I should be doing to satisfy the soul, like what my ego thinks that the soul needs. And in truth, it's once again, uh, uh, like a lie that the ego tells us. It's like another. It's a cloud. It's another veil before our eyes, which is that the ego saying, and it's actually doing another bid for control, a bid for control, and a bid for perfection. And it is saying, if I'm not perfect and I'm not controlling every aspect of my life to align with God or whatever, then I'm not going to get, into heaven, or I'm not going to reach enlightenment, or, depending on whatever you follow, if you're a Buddhist, whatever it is, I'm not going to reach nirvana, right? It's like, well, I'm not going to reach Christ consciousness, and you fall into this trap. And the truth is when you sit down and you let all that, you release all of that, you release what you think you need to do to get to the next level, what you think you need to do to be perfect and to be holy or to be spiritual or whatever like that. And you just say, I'm a human. And what does that mean? It's finding holiness in being a human. It's finding like, in truth, it's just giving yourself absolute grace and absolute love to thyself. Like, you know, it's just sitting there and maybe just sitting on the couch, eating a pint of ice cream, watching some rom com, you know what I mean, and crying your eyes out. Like that's what it means to be human. It means spending a whole Sunday like not going to church and just like literally just like rotting the whole, like, even if you feel bad about it. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying that that's what we do, and to deny the reality of what humans do, and to pretend like we can strive for perfection and we can strive to be a Jesus-like figure is wrong. We should, you know, tend to think like, what would Jesus do, or like in the sense like, okay, I'm someone that wants to like, heal my generational trauma. I want to be the person that's going to end the generational trauma. And for a while, I thought that meant like, oh, that means I need to be wealthy as fuck and just like, provide generational wealth. But the truth is that I've already destroyed the generational curse. I've already squashed it like a bug, not through getting rich, but through introspection, through going to therapy, through releasing the generational anger, through releasing the generational trauma, through healing myself, through learning how to articulate better, through learning what is emotional intelligence, how to be more empathetic, how to forgive, how to give more grace. And I'm not perfect. I fuck up all the time, like, right? But in no ways am I going to treat my children the way, my father treated me, or the way that his father treated him, or that my father's fathers treated him, right? It's gotten better each time. And with me, I think I ended like the anger. Like I've ended the anger part, right? And so I think in truth, when we say, "Oh, now I'm going to go on the spiritual journey," is that it's a lie. Like I'm going to go on the spiritual journey by reading this book and and I reading some religious texts and going into prayer and going to church and going to serve and doing all these things, which are good. You should do those things, but it's doing them for the wrong reason. It's doing them because thinking that it will get you somewhere, not out of absolute curiosity. It's by, I'm doing this, my ego is telling me and tricking me that if I do this thing, that I'm worthy enough to be loved. I'm worthy enough to be taken in by God, or be seen by the universe, or to manifest what I want, right? But it's a lie. It's a total lie, dude. In truth, like, every moment you've walked, every moment you've been on a spiritual journey, even those times where you were being a total piece of shit, even during those times where you were the bad person in everyone's story, you were on a journey, you were on a spiritual journey. And then when you reflected on that, and when and then when you went, you had your an awakening or whatever, but then you went back to all your bad habits, and then you came out of that because you fell into the ego trap of being like, well, I just came out, I'm on a spiritual journey, so it makes me better than others, right? You fell into the first ego trap, and then you got out of that, and you got back on your spiritual journey, and then you fell into the trap of perfectionism, and then you forgot about God for a while, and you were just trying to do everything by yourself, and things ended up wrong. Like, all of that is part of the spiritual journey, and the spiritual journey isn't. And a lot of times, a lot of the spiritual journey isn't some beautiful thing. It's not some, you know, like kumbaya. It's most of the time it's not kumbaya, dude. A lot shadow work is very intense, very intense. Like, I've been in therapy since I was 16, right? And a lot of times I wasn't actually in therapy, like, for like the first couple of years, because I didn't want to be there. I didn't even know why I was there. I just thought, I'm doing this thing in the same way that a lot of times when, like, I read text or get spiritual, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this thing because there's a transaction to be made. If I do this thing, good things will happen. In my head, but I don't understand the why. And so the first couple of years I was in therapy, it was, I'm doing this thing because I feel like I'm gonna be better. Like, it's gonna, like, this thing is just gonna make me better by doing it, but without understanding why or how, or that I need to participate. And then finally, within the last couple of years, I've had very intensive therapy where it's not fun, where you come out every session feeling fucking awful because you're like when Mr. Krabs lost his shell, and you're just like some freaking vulnerable, like, squishy crab with no shell, right? Like, and I've spent a lot of these therapy sessions throwing up and crying and wailing and being angry, and then masking and then unmasking, and then wasting some sessions, right? Like, that's really shadow work. Shadow work is ugly as fuck. Shadow work and really working through your traumas and working through your stuff is ugly as fuck. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, even doing that isn't like, there's a goal to be reached, but it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go reach enlightenment through being this like, therapy shows all your imperfections, and you get, I like, if you have a really good therapist, like, and I'm a very good therapist, she cooks me all the time because she sees what I'm trying to do. She sees the defense mechanisms I'm pulling out, whether consciously or unconsciously, and she cooks me, and I'm very imperfect in that. And so, like, even last session, like, for the whole, like, 45 minutes, I'm in the last 5 minutes, I finally unmask, and she's like, see, where have you been this whole time, right? Like what I'm trying to say is that the journey to enlightenment is filled with you figuring out how to be human and allowing yourself to be human, and not, like, especially for men, right? Like, avoid toxic masculinity, avoid hiding your emotions, avoid believing that women are these terrible creatures, and also avoid pedestaling women as well, and like, avoid, like, holding in your emotions, saying, oh, I'm not going to allow this person in, and I'm not going to, and that's kind of pussy to do this, and that's kind of like, that's gay to do that, or whatever it is. Like, screw all that. Man, woman, whatever. The point of being a human is to be a human, right? And if you deny, a large part of being human is emotions, and if you deny access to most of those emotions, which men are socialized to do, and that is why, like, at a certain point, for men, since you're denied the only emotion you're really allowed to express is anger, and so all of your emotions get funneled into anger, like sadness, depression, all like grief, loss, like all these things, disappointment, they all get funneled into anger. And so it is every man's duty to become emotional, to teach their children how to be emotional. And it's not like, dude, I'm someone that cries a lot, right? Like, and I'm not saying every dude should cry a lot. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, to negatively connotate some emotions is crazy because all emotions are valid. What do you mean I'm not allowed to be sad? Like, what? Someone just died. What do you mean I'm not allowed to cry? Like I just get yelled at, right? Like, especially as if you're a kid, and I think, like, really, enlightenment is about figuring out how to love yourself for being human, and find grace for yourself, find love for yourself, find forgiveness for yourself, whilst being the most imperfect thing of all time, whilst constantly sinning, not feeling good about it, but making mistakes all the time, and constantly, like, going back on your word, whatever it is, and getting into periods of, like, really doing well for yourself and then falling back. Dude, falling is the most natural thing ever. And, like, my therapist told me one time, she's like, Nick, I see that you're someone that you just like to sit in the stands because you're too scared to even go into the arena. Because when you go into the arena and you fall, you give up. It's over. Like, when you fall, it's not that when you give up, it's just you're so scared of falling that you don't even want to get into the arena in the first place. And she's like, the truth is, though, is that the only way to progress in life is to get in the arena. And to get into the arena with the understanding that you're going to fall, right? The same way, like, when I take a trade, right? When I take a trade and I have a stop loss, I'm going into that trade acknowledging and being okay with taking that loss. It's okay. Like, I'm not going to be mad if I hit my stop loss, because that's what I signed up for, right? Is that there's a chance it's going to hit the stop loss. And the same way in life, it's like, there's always a chance I'm going to fail, and I'm definitely going to fail, because if I'm trying, I should fail. If I'm trying new things and I'm expanding and I'm exploring, I should fail. And that doesn't make me a piece of shit. That's the part of, understanding the enlightenment of being a human. Not to deny humanity is to be, like, upset with yourself for failing, and being like, and upset for yourself for not praying every day, and believing that you have to pray every day, and believing that you have to be, like, almost monk-like, because a lot of what being a monk is, and Buddhism is detachment, right? Detachment from outcomes, detachment from attachments, obviously, and everything. But the issue with that, what I find the issue to be with that, is detaching from everything. You're essentially being a non-human, and all in all, yo, I'm sorry, I'm kind of cooking right now. I'm kind of cooking because I've really been thinking about this. Because every time I start really getting closer to God again, I fall into the trap. Either it's the trap of Satan, it's the trap of my ego. That is, okay, well, keep it up. Keep it up. If you don't read every day, if you don't think about him every day, if you don't talk to him every day, if you don't pray every day, he hates you. He doesn't want you. You are failing him. And I fall into that. But I'm a human. And he knows, he built me, bro. He knows I'm a human. And I can't fall into that, right? Because if he thinks it's just the devil whispering shit, because what the devil wants is for me to be like, yeah, you're right, I am a piece of shit, and then go back to doing my bad habits, go back to doing things that I shouldn't be doing, going back to being very greedy, or very like prideful, or whatever sin it is, right? And you can't listen to that. If I even think about God at all, and I repent to him, and I even think about him at all, he's got me, bro. He's got me. If when I'm in trouble, or when good things happen, if my first thought is, oh, God's got me, then we're good. It doesn't matter if I didn't talk to him for a week, because I'm like, it's like when you leave your parents' house. You just go leave your parents' house for a couple of bit. You come back a month later. You're in college. You come back a month later. You're like, bro, this is what happened. This is what's been going on. You call home every now and then. Sometimes you don't call every day. And it's really like, for my mom, right? Like, do I call her every day? No. Do I think to myself, am I a terrible son? Sometimes. Am I correct? Probably not. My mom loves me, right? And should I call her more? Sure. But that's okay. That's being human. Like, we can always get better. We can always progress. But enlightenment is not equivalent to perfection. Enlightenment is not denying your humanity. That is not how you reach enlightenment. And I think that's the propaganda. It's the, I'm gonna read all these self-help books. I'm gonna read the Atomic Habits. I'm gonna read the Road Less Travel. I'm gonna read the Untethered Soul. I'm gonna read all these books, these psychology books. I'm gonna join all these courses. I'm gonna do to figure out what it means to be enlightened, and I'm just gonna consume and consume and consume. And if I consume all these things, then I'll get there. No, the truth is that it comes from not like really figuring yourself out and understanding yourself and knocking on the door of your soul, which is actually just your inner child. Takes silence. It takes underconsumption. It takes you just spending time with yourself. That's it. There's the consumption, all that shit is just people trying to sell you books, people trying to sell you courses. It's just like capitalism has absolutely brain rotted the fuck out of like, you're helping yourself, out of psychology, out of spirituality. It's just made it like some sort of commodity. It's made it this thing that you can buy your way to spirituality. You can buy your way to enlightenment. Bullshit, bro. It's a bunch of bullshit, right? In truth, you just gotta sit with yourself, and you're not gonna be enlightened because you're gonna find some stuff out by yourself. You're like, okay, I'm gonna work on that. You go work on that, and then you forget about it, and then you remember, and then you forget about it, and then you remember again, and then finally at some point it gets ingrained, and then you got another thing to work on, right? It's a never ending thing, but it should that's okay. That's okay because you're never going to reach perfection. That's not the point of life, is to be a perfect person. It's just to get better, and it's just to understand yourself. And so, yeah, sorry, dude, bro. This is bro. I haven't worked out in 2 years, and I'm just kind of I'm kind of like jacked. Anyways, sorry. See, I can't be saying shit. I can't say stuff like that. See, I just call myself. I shouldn't. The should or shouldn't be wary. I just call myself IRL in real time. When Be wary of when you say I should or shouldn't, because most of the time that is not coming from your child. That's not coming from you. It's coming from the voice of shame. It's coming from the internalized voices of like the grindset and capitalism and the virtue of suffering and really working hard. It comes from like always needing to be the voice of always needing to be productive. Don't listen. There's no shouldn'ts. You just are. You just exist. And you say, if you want to work out, you say, hey, that's something I really want to do. I want to start like implementing workouts. That's okay to say. It's not, I should be working out. Because when you start saying should and shouldn't, it's shame. And you can shame yourself in doing a lot of things. But once those things are completed, your shame is going to find another thing for you to do and for another thing for you to shame yourself about. So be wary. And it's never ending. You got to love yourself into doing things. And that takes time. And so like Julian's, sometimes asks me like, when am I going to start working out again, or like whatever it is. And I tell her, I don't know, but I'm not going to shame myself into doing it. I just know at some point, like I'm just going to feel like, okay, I'm ready to really like start working out again and really going crazy. But like, dude, anyways, y'all, this is a rant and a half. And I love y'all. Have a blessed rest of your Wednesday night. I had another potluck today. It was freaking awesome. Work has been amazing. So I love you guys, girls, gays, queers, they, them, z's, or everyone, anyone. Have a blessed rest of your Wednesday night, and I'll catch you guys on a Thursday. Okay.